unless they see for themselves. One ear, their government is telling them Hong Kong is dangerous, it's not good, no more freedom. In the other ear, Hong Kong is saying, oh, it's a great place, come and visit Hong Kong. So people are confused, no matter what you said. That's what I've said to the government. We can have hello Hong Kong, hello. I always say you have to do something, but nobody will believe you. They just believe what the government tells you. That's the big problem. Hong Kong's security law, to me, is like a baby's security law. No matter what you go and said Hong Kong is great, oh, you just had sentenced people to 10 years and 8 years who just wanted democracy. They didn't do anything. It's very unjust. If you look at the US, the break-in to Washington, the leader of that group got 24 years. If you put a Western democracy system into China with 1.4 billion people, it'll be a mess. It's important that China's system really works for China. Hong Kong's system works for Hong Kong. It'll be one country, two systems. Very important for China. They don't need another 7.5 million people in Hong Kong. It's a Chinese city, no value. And a lot of people that left for BNO passports, from what I hear, not very happy in the UK. Hard to make a living, difficult language. The passport is not the most important thing. I can tell you that.
睇片之前記得訂閱經一嘅 YouTube Channel， 撳埋個鐘仔，下載我哋個 App。仲有，我哋經一共肥計劃已經上線啦，貼士密密送，有錢齊齊揾，快啲訂閱啦！
Basically, I think listen, pandas are great. We have 6 pandas now. And the good thing about the pandas, originally was chairman of Ocean Park. I had 2 pandas, who were older pandas. And then on the 10th anniversary of Hong Kong going back to China in 2007, after 1997, the time the government, Donald Tsang was the chief executive, and they're all asking, Beijing wants to know what is a good gift to Hong Kong, what could we do? I always thought we need 2 new pandas because in case the older pandas die, for Ocean Park, that was really, people always loved pandas. And so I gave Donald Tsang the idea, why don't we go, he was going up to Beijing at the time, I think it was December, and I said, why don't you tell Hu Jintao that we would need like 2 new pandas for Ocean Park. So he said, good idea. Anyways, he went there, he told Hu Jintao. Hu Jintao said, great idea, and that's how we got the 2 pandas that came, Lily and Ying Ying, so who came to Hong Kong. And they served us very well. And then the 2 older pandas passed on. And of course, then the new pandas, the oldest pandas in the world, they had twins, And so when that happened, I called John Lee and I said, John, I'm a grandfather today because I was the one that got the pandas here, and now we had babies, so I feel like I'm a grandfather for the 2 new twins, And so he laughed. He said, yeah. He said, you're a grandfather. And then, of course, we got another gift of 2 new pandas, that have arrived, and the public will be able to see. I think it's a very, very good idea. Pandas, especially for Ocean Park and for Hong Kong, people love pandas, everywhere in the world, people in other places of the world, they pay $1 million US every year to rent the panda, for zoos or for different parks. And so we're lucky. We have 6. No other city that I know has so many pandas at one time. And I'm thinking what I've suggested we do what I call a panda island, whereby, you have different panda exhibits, different panda shops, different panda restaurants, really make it into a whole panda world, and so, but I'm not the chairman anymore, just my suggestions. I think that would be very, very good, because that would attract a lot of people, because I know the attraction of pandas. Although, believe it or not, pandas are dangerous. They're bears. People forget, because they can't attack you. That's why they sleep a lot, and they're territorial. So panda usually needs to have its own space, usually by maybe 50 to 100 kilometers, they like to, otherwise if they're together, they'll fight, but it's quite unique for what we have. So I think if we could really, really make a big event of them, and even do media off of them, like Disney has Mickey Mouse, from a mouse. They created a mouse that became like the icon of Disney for so many years, We can do the same thing with a panda, and really and do panda stories, whether by cartoons or every children love pandas, as well. So I think there's a lot we can do with them, and we should do with them, and it really will attract a lot of tourists, I'm sure, even from Southeast Asia, from China, even though I know some of the legislators said, Chengdu, Sichuan has so many pandas, mainlanders won't come here but in Chengdu, I mean, there's a lot of pandas, but it's like going to the zoo and watching them, but if you really do something special here, I think that that would really be a very good thing for Hong Kong. But as I say, I'm not the chairman, so I can only give suggestions. I've been waiting for this for a long time. I also sit on the cultural board, for the government. So for me, I think it's really, really important that we have. Last week I was at the at the new stadium, Kai Tak Stadium, and I tell you, the Kai Tak Stadium is beautiful. I had a tour last week. It's one of the nicest in the world, honestly, and 50,000 seats covered, and another smaller stadium, 10,000. And so now, we have rugby sevens will open up early next, I think in February or something like that, and then we have Coldplay coming in April, and I see they just extended one more day because the ticket sales were so good. It'll be 4 days now instead of 3 days, and so this is a good example of, the reason Taylor Swift couldn't come here is she went to Singapore when she was here last time. We only had the Coliseum, 15,000 seats, small. And what you have to pay some of these artists crazy money, and so you need 50,000 seats in order to make it happen. So I'm very confident this will really make Hong Kong international, because we're hope to get more new famous superstars through, and that people around the world say, wow, Hong Kong is really a happening place. Everybody's going there. We have to go to see. This is, I don't think maybe even the government realizes how important the mega stadium is to Hong Kong, and also for sports, because we had so many Olympic winners and all that. So I think that'll be another very, very good thing. And then talking about KPIs for the money, because the Cultural Bureau doesn't have that much money to hand out, but using KPIs to see a lot of the different groups that depend on government funding, they want to make sure, put a KPI on to make sure that they attract audience, not just give you money. So, so I think they're getting much more professional, and I think that some of the measures that they've come out with will really help Hong Kong, and maybe even creating, having different shows and different, and showing Hong Kong in East meets West. That's what we are, and so letting the world know that Hong Kong is a very, very unique place. For me, it's the best place in the world. There's no better place. You're lucky to live here, honestly, because it's safe. We don't have to worry about safety. You don't have to worry about gun control. You don't have to worry about all these crazy things that are going on in the world at the moment, drugs, so Hong Kong's a great place to bring up a family, and really and then with China really opening up more and more and becoming stronger and stronger, I wouldn't want to live anywhere else but here. Well, I think we have a saying, seeing is believing. for international people, when they come here and they see for themselves, even after many events and all that, I go to, many people come from the convention center to Lan Kwai Fong, and I hear so many times, wow, this is not what I led to believe. It's not what the news media had reported, And the problem is, most of the media, because of geopolitical, they listen to many of the senators in the United States and, who say all these bad things about Hong Kong but give us a bad name. But the thing is, they've never been to Hong Kong, they've never been to China. It's what they think in their mind. They think everybody's communist. They think communists are so bad because they grew up that way. I lived there when I was small, and they think, oh, communism is very bad. Well, China is not communist, and Hong Kong for sure is not communist. China is socialist, but it's capitalist. So you have Tencent, you have Meituan, you have Alibaba. You have these huge companies. Can't say that's communist, And so and more companies opening up and all that. So they don't really understand because they're brainwashed. They're led to believe that the U.S. is the best country in the world, and many European countries feel the same. Look at what China did with EV cars, with the electric cars taking over the world. Before, if you told me a few years ago that they'll beat Japan and Toyota would be displaced, I would say to you, you don't know what you're talking about, but China moves so quickly, and they do whatever they do really, really well. And so that's why now they're trying to put 100% tariff into the U.S. All these things, because that's why I believe so strongly in China and so strongly in Hong Kong, because China's a can-do place, and Hong Kong also is can-do in the U.S. And I always say, if all these senators or the people in the U.S., in the U.S., 65% of the population have never had a passport. They've never traveled outside, so they don't know. They just listen to what they see on TV or that kind of thing. And so when you see all these bad things, not much Hong Kong can do, because people don't travel. They listen, most people never left their town in the United States. They love sports. They watch Saturday, Sunday football, hockey, baseball, basketball. That's their life, and they don't know more. They train to think that their country's the best country in the world. They don't realize that it's a big world, and it is changing now. And so those senators always said, if they went to China to see what China has built up, the high-speed rail in China, 55,000 square kilometers of railway track, In the U.S., they still use coal and still using the locomotive train. It's so old-fashioned, but the roads are still bumpy. Midtown Tunnel, New York City is still the same. Nothing's been upgraded. They don't put money into the infrastructure. And so China, everything's fresh, new, great. I said if their people really went to China and saw what China has built, they would kill their government, because they lied to them. But it's just something that we have to live with for now in this part of the world, because the West feels the growth of China is too strong, and they worry that it's not Western, so-called Western democracy. It's a different system, authoritarian government system. The problem is, if you put a Western democracy system into China with 1.4 billion people, it'll be a mess. Look at U.S. is so divided between Democrats and Republicans. That's with 335 million people. China's 5 U.S.'s, UK is also a mess. Europe is Germany, a huge disaster. So it's important that China's system really works for China. Hong Kong's system works for Hong Kong. But U.S. just wants to continue to have wars. In Ukraine, keep arming Ukraine, and with Russia. The good thing, China doesn't like war. Hopefully, Trump will be able to stop the war once and for all, because killing all people it's not my style. I feel very bad for, there is no winners and no losers in a war. Everyone's a loser. Even one death is too much in a war. So the good thing out here, we don't have that. We don't have to worry about that. And that's the beauty of Asia. Unless they see for themselves, because on one hand, in one ear, their government is telling them Hong Kong is dangerous, it's not good, no more freedom, all these things. In the other ear, Hong Kong is saying, oh, it's a great place, come and visit Hong Kong. So people are confused, no matter what you say. That's what I've said to the government. No matter what you say, it doesn't matter, because it's one ear, it says, come to Hong Kong, the other ear says, don't go, it's not safe, because of geopolitical problem. So it's just something that we have to live with for the moment, and maybe look at new markets, different markets, like ASEAN market out here, 600 million people, 30% of the world's population. Let people come to so those are tourists we can go after. They're not far from Hong Kong, and mainland, is a huge market, can come to Hong Kong. I mean, now the Middle East, is another one that we're trying to do halal food for them, and from some of the customs, coming to Hong Kong. If we're an exciting city, if we have Coldplay, if we have Ronaldo, if we have Lionel Messi, if we have all these things in Hong Kong, the famous names, that really makes Hong Kong people around the world say, oh wow, what's going on? Hong Kong is happening. It's like Korea before. They started K-pop, they started, all their great, and everybody loves Korea, Korean music and all that. So we have to do the same, we really do the same. Well, we have MIRROR group, which it's not K-pop, but it's okay. It's a start. But so we really need to as long as we have great restaurants, have great places like Lan Kwai Fong, that people come and they go back and they say, wow, it's great. Hong Kong, and they tell their friends. Well, that's the best advertising. We can have hello Hong Kong, hello, I always say you have to do something, but nobody will believe you because they're so far away, and they just believe what the government tells you. Most people listen to their government. That's the big problem. No, it'll be one country, two systems. That's very important for China. As I said, China's 1.4 billion people. They don't need another 7.5 million people in Hong Kong. That's a Chinese city. No value. As a GBA, with our common law system, their civil law, our independent judiciary, all these things, these are things that really help Hong Kong, and make us stand out from the rest of China. And that China needs. That's why they'll continue to support Hong Kong in a big way. I mean, the other thing, talking about tourism, going back, because right now, because of the 45 individuals that were just sentenced, from the riots in 2019 and Jimmy Lai case and all that, of course that gets turned around and reported around the world that, oh, Hong Kong, the freedom, the people wanted democracy. They don't know that these people actually committed a crime, and in any city, it's a crime. And our security law, actually, Hong Kong's security law, to me, is like a baby security law compared to Singapore, much stricter, UK, very, very strict, more than Hong Kong. The US has 20 security laws, 3 much more stricter than Hong Kong. And we can see what happened for the sentencing here. That's the injustice. The sentencing here, in the past, the highest sentence in the security law was the guy on the motorcycle that tried to run down some police officers, right? He got 8 years, and then now Benny Tai, who organized all the votes, to overturn the LegCo. He got 10 years. Jimmy Lai, of course, still is on trial, so we'll see what happens there. But if you look at the U.S., in January 6th, the break-in to Washington after the last election, when Donald Trump stirred up the people, the leader of that group got 24 years. The second got 22 years, and the third guy got 21 years. So all with the national security law. But they criticized Hong Kong. We had light sentences, but they still criticize it. But the people don't know. The people don't, they think, oh wow, Hong Kong is bad. That's what we have to live with, unfortunately. But it's very unjust, And as I was saying, no matter what you go and said Hong Kong is great, you just had sentenced people to 10 years and 8 years, who just wanted democracy. They didn't do anything, It's just, you go through different waves. I've stopped worrying about anything and trying to change opinion. Just live your life, have a good life here, and at the end of the day, if you have a good life, that's all you care about. Don't care about what other people think. If it's good, at the end, they'll come here, and a lot of people are moving back. We can see a lot of people are definitely moving back because they went overseas and they saw, this is not so good. And a lot of people that left for BNO passports, from what I hear, not very happy in the UK. Hard to make a living, difficult language. It's the passport is not the most important thing. I can tell you that.
想緊貼更多理財投資同生活嘅資訊，就繼續留意我哋唔同嘅平台，記得訂閱我哋嘅經一共肥計劃同埋 YouTube Channel，再撳埋個鐘仔啦。